The Championship relegation battle is still wide open. Unlike the Premier League, which, let's be honest, we've known who was going to get relegated since Christmas, pretty much since the start of the season. The Championship, there are still 8 teams who could technically get relegated. I'm going to go over each of those, their recent form, the fixtures that they've got left, and if I think they have a real chance of getting relegated, and then give my final relegation predictions. Who's going to end up playing in League One next season? If you are a Football League fan, the Championship, League One, or even a Premier League fan, please do remember to hit like and subscribe for more football content. But let's start with a team that are currently sat in 17th, and that is Stoke City. Do I think that Stoke are in real danger? Well, they've actually had 2 draws and 2 wins in their last 5 games, with a very recent, very large loss coming at the hands of Leeds United, who absolutely battered them 6-0. That could have a real knock on their confidence. Stoke do have to play Sheffield United next. I think they'll lose that. This video might come out just before they're playing Sheffield United. Although Sheffield's form has been relatively poor recently, I think they have what it takes to beat Stoke, especially given what Leeds just did to them. And then their last game of the season is against Derby County. Derby will need to win that game to stay in the league. So it could be a case of Stoke losing both games, but I just don't see Luton picking up full points and the teams below Stoke picking up full points, meaning that they would go down. So let's be honest, Stoke are staying in the Championship, but just below them in 18th place is Preston. Preston's form is really, really bad. 2 draws, 3 losses in the last 5 games. They've got to play Plymouth next. 2 games left of the season, and we all know that Plymouth need a victory there in order to have any chance of survival. We'll speak a little bit more about them very shortly. And then they've got Bristol on the last game of the season. Bristol will likely need to win to guarantee a place in the playoffs. So I could actually see a world where Preston lose both of those games. It is still quite unlikely though. I know that Plymouth have had better form recently, but Preston could very easily get a draw against them, and that puts them in relative safety. However, with their form, it is possible that they end up getting dragged into the race a little bit more. I don't see it though. I think Preston keep their place in the Championship. 19th on the same points as them is another team that I think will keep their place, and that is Oxford United. They have Sunderland next. Sunderland's recent form has been horrible. I could see them actually getting a draw or picking up a win against Sunderland. And then they've got Swansea on the last day of the season. So Oxford have only lost twice in the last 5 games. A draw and 2 wins hidden in there as well. There's no way they go down. Come on. By the time they play Swansea are going to have the feet up. I mean, they pretty much already do. They have nothing to play for. So I think, same for Sunderland, really. Sunderland will want to pick up some form before the playoffs, but they have been rotating the squad a lot. I could see Oxford picking up maybe 4 points between those 2 games somehow. So that puts them in a very good position. Then we move on to the teams where I'm starting to think it looks a little bit more suspect. The ones that are definitely going to be in and around the true battle for relegation. The first of which is 20th placed Hull City. Hull have had a very poor season. Sacking Rosenior in the summer, not developing the squad as much after really going for the playoffs last season. It's poor from them, and I am actually quite surprised. I wouldn't have thought they'd have been this low down in the table at the start of the season. They're a point closer to the drop. They're on 48 points. They've had 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses in the last 5 games. So really, the form is okay. They've also got to play Derby County. So Derby have got 2 games where if they win both of those, they are out the battle. But also the teams that they're playing will know that they have to win in order to not potentially swap places with Derby County. They've got some key games. And then they also play Portsmouth on the last day of the season. Portsmouth could, I think, technically still get dragged into this battle, but it'd take a massive goal difference swing. So by this point, they'll have their feet up. They'll be relaxing. A very successful first season for them in the Championship. Very winnable games for Hull. Let's be honest. Their form's decent. They could definitely win those games. They could technically still be caught by Cardiff and Plymouth as well, but they'd have to win both of their remaining fixtures and Hull lose both. Honestly, I think the only chance that Hull have of getting dragged into this race is if they lose to Derby County and Luton win this game week, and then that Portsmouth game means a hell of a lot because Derby will have caught up to them instantly and it'd just take another Luton win. So Hull, in and around it, they did just get a win on the board though. I think that they'll survive. I think that they'll remain in the Championship. And then we go on to Derby County, who are 21st on 46 points. The exact same points as Luton. The only thing keeping them outside the relegation zone at the minute, their goal difference is sitting at -9 and Luton's is -23. In fact, all of the current teams in the relegation zone sit on Luton and Cardiff on -23 and Plymouth on -37. That could be the difference maker come the end of the season. Derby's form is really poor as well. They did just pick up a very good victory over West Brom. However, 2 losses, 2 draws and 1 victory in the last 5 does not fill me with hope. And I'm sure the Derby County fans will be really, really nervous at the minute. They do have 2 pretty winnable games. We just spoke about the game with Hull. That could really go either way. That's a proper relegation deciding fixture. And then they've got Stoke, who again will probably have their feet up by the last game of the season. Big loss against Leeds recently. Derby will see some positives in that. The fact that they managed to go to a top half team and pick up points. I don't know. It's so hard to predict. I won't give my prediction on if Derby are actually going to stay in. Let's speak about the other teams that are currently in the relegation zone, who they've got to play, and then we'll give a final 3 that will get relegated. Just under Derby at the minute is Luton Town, sitting in 22nd. Their form is okay, actually. 2 draws, a loss, and 2 wins. So they've actually picked up a lot of points. However, it is looking like it might be a little too late for them to have saved their season. As I say, on the same points as Derby, but the fixtures that they've got left is Coventry next, who need to win to guarantee a place in the playoffs. Although Coventry did lose at the weekend, they have been fantastic since Lampard came in. A local game could be a spicy one. Both teams really, really need a victory. But Coventry this season have had so much more quality than Luton, so I don't really see them beating them. And then West Brom on the last game of the season. West Brom could be out of the playoff picture by then. It depends if they win their next fixture. They could also really need a win to even have a chance. And with a new manager coming in at West Brom, they'll want to end the season on a high anyway. So it is looking really tricky for Luton. The only thing that could potentially save them is Derby. And then we're on to the final 2 teams, the bottom 2 teams in the Championship. 23rd is Cardiff City. Cardiff have by far the worst form out of any team we've spoken about. They've got 2 losses and 3 draws in their last 5 games. But who are they playing? West Brom are up next. West Brom need to win this game to have any chance of even taking a playoff hope to the last game of the season. So they're going to be well up for it. New manager's not been secured as of recording this video, but even an interim manager will want to get something out of the players, try give them a slight chance of the playoffs. And then they've got Norwich as the last game of the season. I think that's pretty winnable. Norwich can't do anything now. They can't go up, can't go down. So they'll be up for it, Cardiff, but I think that it might already be done before that. Last team on here, Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth have been consistently the worst team throughout this Championship season. However, surprisingly, their recent form actually hasn't been too bad. They've had 3 wins and 2 losses, but very similar to Luton, I feel like their streak of good form in the last 5 games has come at the wrong time. They needed this earlier in the season to be able to push on and take something from those victories. They've got to play Preston, who I don't think will offer much. Plymouth could actually get a win there. But then on the last game of the season, they've got Leeds United. I actually quite like Plymouth. I think they've got a fantastic fan base. I'd really like to see them fight and find a way to stay in the Championship. Obviously, I'm a Leeds fan. I want Leeds to win that final game and lift the title. But there is a world where they beat Preston and then they potentially get a draw with Leeds at home. We've seen some fantastic results for them at home. They obviously beat Sheffield United the other week. They could even get a result against Leeds, but I'm fighting to see the best version of Plymouth, and I can't remember a time they've won 2 games in a row this season. I don't think that they have. They haven't even done it whilst winning 3 of the last 5. So it's a real shame, but it's time to give our Championship relegation nominees. Who is actually going to get relegated from the Championship? First pick for me is Derby County. They were looking really strong a little while ago. It looked like they were secure in the championship place. But I just think that Luton's recent form, 2 wins, 2 draws and only 1 loss in the last 5 games. They're on the same amount of points as Derby. They have got tougher fixtures, but I just think it's been slipping away for Derby for the last 5 to 10 games. And for some reason, obviously, Luton do have more quality in the squad. That is undeniable. I just think that they're going to find a way. I could maybe see a draw against Coventry. Last game against West Brom, if they're already out the playoff picture, I could see them winning. And then I think with Derby, their fixtures against Hull will mean Hull are going to be well up for it. They know they need to win to take themselves out of this relegation battle. And then Stoke on the last day. Stoke have been in very good form recently, other than that Leeds loss. They're going to want to take something into next season. Obviously, they could have their feet up and it could be a completely different picture. But I can just see Luton and Derby swapping places. And then for those last 2 relegation spots, I think it remains the same, to be honest. Cardiff, without a winning 5, they're going down. They're simply getting relegated. And when I've seen them play in the last couple of weeks, they really haven't shown any fight. They've showed no desire. Aaron Ramsey might be able to get a little something out of them for these last 2 games, but I don't see them getting anything against West Brom. Norwich, potentially they get a draw or a win, but with my prediction that Luton win, it won't make a difference anyway. So Cardiff are my second pick. And then unfortunately, the biggest unfortunately of the video, Plymouth have got to be the last pick. I hope they bounce straight back up. They've had a very tough time of it this year. Obviously, Rooney for the first half of the season didn't do a fantastic job. New manager hasn't really, up until the last 5-10 games, have shown a little bit more fight. Obviously did have an incredible FA Cup run in there. At least the fans have got that memory of this season. But they are definitely going down as well. Boys and girls, let me know who you think is going to get relegated from the Championship in the comment section. And please do remember to hit like and subscribe. But this is why it's one of the most entertaining leagues in the world. As I said at the start of this video, there's still a battle going on down here where it is technically possible for 8 teams to get relegated. That is truly incredible, and it makes the competition worth watching. If you're thinking about watching one of these teams play over the weekend, they've all got something to play for, and it's going to be a nasty, nasty game. Like and subscribe. I'll see you again soon. Peace.